We are ready for session number 5, and today we will be going over how to make a NS timer and how to and some iOS famous design patterns. So let's make a new project. As we all know, create a new Excel project, name it as timer 1. Yeah, let's make exclamation marks. So we have made a project known as timer, and in our storyboard, so let's add a few storyboard objects to it, widgets. Let's make it a smaller size, 4 inch. Let's add a big label to it. Okay, then have two buttons. Mm. Button 1, button 2, button 3. So this is stop, pause, resume, start, pause, resume. Okay, so we have these three buttons and we have a label. Let's connect these objects to our view controller. Label, timer, name timer label. Um, Start action. Okay, so we have these three actions. Okay, we made it a property. Let's go to pause. Type action. Pause action. Okay, so we have three buttons and then we have one label. Let's go to the view controller, and then in this view controller, so we're gonna use a main class known as ns timer. So let's make it a global variable for the whole file. So let's ns timer. We have to make it this curly brackets. ns timer start timer, and when view did appear, we will instantiate it. So we will say time ns timer timers no ns timer timer with enter. So now we have to look for properties to call this method multiple times after some timer with time interval, timer with time interval, schedule timer time. Yeah, let's use this method. Timer with time interval. So we say timer with time interval target, and then we're gonna say timer with time interval. So one interval would be 1 second, 0, and target is self selector. Selector, we're gonna give a method to it. Is it info nil repeats? Yes. Selector, let's make it a function. Okay, so we have to call it a function. say okay, let's see if it works. So basically, so the view that appear will fire the NS timer, and this like NS timer will be like calling this method after every 1 second. Method schedule timer with time interval target, the one with this one without the invocation. Let's say 1.0, the target is self selector, and the method we just made, timer func. Repeat is yes, the boolean value, and the user info is nil. We don't need it right now. So basically, so this method will call this method after every 1 second. See, after every 1 second, this method is getting called, and now we can keep on incrementing inside it. So we will make three variables now: int, second, minute, and then r. Okay, so now we can just say second plus plus. So this will keep on increasing the second by every 1 second, and then we can print it out. So we can say ns string. Now we can say the label timer label dot text equals to ns string with format percentage d comma second. Okay, so now we run the code, and we will see that the seconds getting displayed. Okay, but this will go for up till for everything, right? So we will say that if second less than 59, so say second plus plus, else second equal to 0. Okay, so now we say that when you hit this and you say now equal to 0, and now the minute should be plus plus, but these ones have all to be initialized. So you say second 0, minute equal to 0, r equal to 0. Okay, so now we say the second is 59, so keep on adding it, but once you hit 60, make the second 0 and increase the minute. Then you have to also have a condition for minute. If minute equals to 60, so make minute equals to 0, and you say hour plus plus. Okay, so now we have to do these three things: percentage d comma hour. Okay, seconds, minutes, and hour. So it's working. Now we want to call this method inside here. So this method goes now inside your start. Okay, okay, so now we send this method because we want to start it at this thing. Let's go to storyboard. And let's increase the text size. So increase the text size. And now in our storyboard you say start. So for resume So for pausing the timer, we just call this method timer invalidate. Now you stop it, and now if you want to resume it, you will just call the same method again. Okay. So and we want to check whether it's let's see if it's working. And you start. Okay, so it is the other way around. We'll just fix it. Yeah, it is working. Okay, so we have a bug because it's increasing, right? So we have to make sure that the timer goes only till one time, or we can make it like once we restart it, we can make it into a reset button. Yeah, so let's make it into a reset. So we will do this part. So we will make a property of this button now as start property, start prop. Okay, so now we will say that. So now inside our start method, so now view dot appear, we will give the button the name. We have to access the property start prop dot title. Do we have title? Okay, and then over here, so to change the name of the button, you have to call this method start. So this is the name of the button, and then you have to call this method set title and give it a title start. For state we will go into this deep, but for state right now just make it nil, and then so you will see that the name is coming to be avoid the one here right now, name is start. Okay, and now in the start action we will check if if the button property name prop dot title dot current title is equal to string minus 10 is equal to string this name star. Basically you have to call this method. Else else you have to repeat yes, have to make it of type just set title reset, and you say nil. Else, okay, else now we have to make the now the button is reset, right? Button is reset, so you say sec have sec, minutes, and hours. So they are all zero. So let's try it out if it works. So it is working, and it is reversed. So let's reverse our timer. Where is this? And button name, make it a bit bigger. Let's increase the size. Hit start, and we forgot the code. We can't just add it. You can pause it, and then you can resume. So we successfully made the timer application. Uh, Hi. So now we're gonna be going over design patterns that we follow in our iOS. What's a design pattern? Design pattern is simply the way you organize your code, or like organize the whole systematic way of your application. So we're gonna go the very famous one is a singleton design pattern. So what is singleton design pattern? A singleton design pattern is simply where where you can instantiate a class only once. So you make an instance of that class only once. You cannot make a second instance of it. This is known as a singleton design pattern. The best example in the iOS would be NSUser default, UI application, app delegate file. There are so many classes who can be instantiated only once, and this is known as a singleton design pattern, not delegate. What's a delegate design pattern? A delegate design pattern is simply callback methods. So in this one, you assign the task of one object to another object. So the second object would always be responsible on behalf of the first object. So whatever the methods are for the first object are implemented in the second object. So basically, you are delegating task of one object to another object. Our iOS is made on this design pattern, the delegate design pattern. And there are so many examples. MVC, the most favorite design pattern in iOS. The second iOS is based on the MVC design pattern. Basically, model view controller. Model is the data, view is the what you see, and the controller is the main code. So your controller is responsible for talking to the view as well as to the model. So your controller acts as a mediator between the view and the model. Whenever the view needs a data, it asks the controller to get the data from the model, and it receives data, and then the views just displays it. Observer design pattern. Observer design pattern is basically when one object wants to know when the other object changes. So basically, like you have, so this goes under a key value observing. Uh, so basically, you have one object, and the second object will react only when the first object does some option. This is the observer design pattern. So it is similar to a delegate pattern, but the main difference is that delegate pattern is one to one, whereas pattern is one to many. So one object can be observed by multiple objects, and they can react in that way. Facade design pattern. What's a facade design pattern? Is simply a complex system to be accessed through one entry, it to be unaware of the class in the system. So basically, like facade design pattern is when you get is basically like one complex class is divided into sub complex classes, and you are allowed an entry through only one point. Like so, an NS image class. So when you use an NS image, there is a lot happening in the behind, like The bit code of the image is done and is converted and then is displayed to you. But you are only instantiating this class, but in behind there is a lot of stuff happening. This is the facade design pattern. Basically, so you access the whole system through entry points to the subsystems. Command design pattern. So command design pattern is for encapsulation. So basically, like our iOS is based on message passing. So the object that is passing the method, the second object has no idea about the first object. This is the idea of command design pattern. Template design pattern is basically like this is the skeleton of an algorithm, leaving some parts to be implemented by you. So like you make a view controller, so you have the methods already written like view did load, view did appear. This is a template method that you can think. Decorator design pattern is simply to add behavior and responsibility to an object. The best example is categories. Like categories are used for adding methods to an already existing class. Adaptive design pattern allows classes with incomplete interfaces to work together. It wraps itself around the object, exposes a standard interface to interact with each other. It's basically like it's like when two classes are not compatible with each other, so they use like an adapter to make it compatible. Like adapter, what happens? So adapter just makes it possible for your code to be charged to the wall, right? This is the same concept. Two classes which are not compatible with each other, they can use adapter pattern to be compatible. So guys, that's it for today. So we learned about how to make a timer project using iOS or Objective-C, and then we learned about the different design patterns in our iOS. So guys, if you like my video, and I'm gonna be uploading the videos every day with more and more topics. So please like my video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Fun Learn iOS. See you next time.